I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Over the last 3 or 4 months, I find I'm getting more and more people that are emailing me, commenting on my YouTube channel, sending me direct messages on Twitter saying that they discovered my YouTube channel 2 or 3 or 4 months ago and have gone back and watched the last 100 or 200 videos, gone all the way back to the beginning 8 years ago, and been watching all my videos, have learned a lot, thanking me for the videos that I've been posting over the last 8 years. And this makes me feel good. This is why I continue to do this blog. I enjoy doing it. It's a pay it forward thing for me, as a lot of you know if you've read my book. But the other thing, I tell people, one of the reasons why I decided to do a video blog 8 years ago, as opposed to doing a written blog, besides the fact that I'm a terrible typist, video doesn't lie. And I wanted to create an archive of 2, 3, 4, 500 videos, depending on how long I decide to keep this blog going, this video blog, that will always be there for people. They can go back, and in my opinion, it'll give you a university education on real estate, investing, the mindset you need to create wealth and financial security. These are things that I've learned over the last 30 plus years. They're from the books I've read and the mentors that helped me when I was first starting out. And the thing that I've always said here is it's tangible stuff that I put out here. It's things that I've been using to great success over the last 30 some odd years. It works. The other great thing about the stuff that I talk about in my blog here is it's a very simple, keep it simple approach. Nothing fancy. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's a simple buy and hold strategy that will always work in your favor if you just follow it. And I'm getting a lot of people that are saying, I've been going back in your blogs, and sure enough, the stuff you were talking 4, 5, 6 years ago, has been pretty accurate. And, I would agree. One of the reasons is because I've always said here, I play it safe on my blog. I like to underpromise and overdeliver. And I keep it simple by just telling people to buy their principal residence, put their money into indexed ETFs, mutual funds with low cost, buy some good dividend paying stocks like a Johnson & Johnson or a TD Bank or a Royal Bank, and then just hang on to the thing. Or buy an investment property down the road after you bought your principal residence, put a tenant in it, and keep it for 15 or 20 or 25 years and let the tenant pay the home off. If you can do that, it's guaranteed to make fistloads of capital gains for you. But what happens in the short term, who knows? And again, I always say, who really cares? Because when it comes to home ownership, when you're buying a home, first and foremost is shelter. Always remember that. You need a roof over your head. It's a long-term need until they take you to an old folks' home. The nice thing about real estate is it does double duty. Not only is it going to give you shelter and stability for you and your family, you're not at the whim of your landlord and getting evicted and tenant's going to move in or the owner's going to move in and you got to be out in 2 months. But it will be the best investment you've ever made. The main reason is because you get the principal residence exemption. And people they'll send me emails about cap rates and the rate of return on buying a home. But they forget a lot of things you have to look at, and a lot of my viewers will point that out to them. The big one is leverage. You have to learn this stuff, and that's why I recommend people pay the $9, buy my book. I go into great detail on all this stuff. It will give you the basics that you need to get started. But leverage is one of the most powerful tools you can use. It allows you to take possession of an appreciating asset for anywhere from 5 to 20% of your own money. If it's an investment property, that money you're borrowing, that 80%, the interest on that is all tax deductible. So leverage is the big thing. The other thing, if it's a principal residence, it's the only true tax shelter we get in Canada. RRSPs are fantastic. You get the write-off and it's tax sheltered growth. But remember, once you decide to draw that RRSP down, it's taxable at your full marginal rate. Take advantage of the principal residence exemption. You can shelter unlimited amounts of money in your principal residence. There's no cap on it. Unlike a TFSA where you're limited to $6,000 a year. So there's so many intangibles with owning real estate. It's not just numbers and what the average rate of return is going to be over time. You've got to look at those things. But first and foremost with your principal residence, it's shelter first. Keep it, live in it, enjoy it, create memories for you and your family in the home, and revisit it in 20 or 30 years when the kids are out of the house and you're ready to retire. Then sell it for $2 million, tax-free. Go move to Florida or Hawaii or wherever else with it. Same thing with an investment property. Buy it, keep it. Your only job, your only thing you need to worry about is keeping good quality tenants in it. When you lose a tenant, get another tenant in there, screen them, run a credit check. That's all you have to do. It's pretty straightforward. When it comes to investing, I tell most people in my book, 90% of the people out there will do just fine index investing. Just buy a low-cost ETF that covers the S&P 500, the Dow 30, or the NASDAQ. Buy another ETF that covers the TSX 100. And then maybe add a little to some Vanguard Emerging Markets Fund and a Vanguard or iShares European Fund, index fund. You're going to pay 0.1% for the management fees and set it and forget it, and that's all you need. Enjoy your life. If you want to get a little more aggressive and you enjoy this type of thing like I do and want to read up on individual companies and how they make money, I love to follow the CEOs and their stories and the founders of some of these companies like Nike and Johnson & Johnson and the Walmarts with the Waltons. You want to get a little better dividend yield, then for sure you can experiment or start investing a bit into some good paying individual dividend stocks if you're inclined to do that kind of thing, because that takes a little bit more work. But set it and forget it. ETF, index investing, will give 90% of the people all you need right there. Buy your principal residence. Enjoy your life. What I tell people, so many people now are concentrating on the short-term market volatility of whether that's the real estate market or if it's the stock market. And in my opinion, if you're spending 10 or 15 minutes reading about stats and market volatility and pipelines being built and tariffs and taxes and Chinese trade, interest rates, the Fed, there's a new one just around the corner. For every 10 minutes you spend on that, you're probably wasting 8. Unless that's a hobby that you enjoy doing. But if it's not, and you're looking to maximize your long-term capital gain, save for retirement, then you don't really need to be doing that or concentrating on that. What you should concentrate on, that I've always pounded home to people here, is you. Getting better. Forget spending all the time on what the interest rates are doing and what the inventory levels are in Vancouver real estate and when should I buy my first condo. If you've got the money, you can qualify for it comfortably and you find the right home, buy it and live in it, enjoy it. And then turn your attention to yourself, getting better at your career, making more money, investing your money, spending time with your family, eating right, getting enough sleep, exercising. Those are the things you should be focusing on. Those are the things that I focus on. I had a nice lady comments on my YouTube all the time who said she'd been going through my blogs for the last 8 years, and sure enough, most of the stuff I've been talking about is spot on, which I think it is because I play it safe. I don't get into wild predictions like some of these other bloggers. Market's going to crash next year. I don't know what the market's going to do next year. Could go up 10%. But real estate is a long-term commitment. Real estate is incredibly expensive to trade in and out of. I've talked about this many times. It shouldn't be looked at like a stock. I can trade stock right now with TD Waterhouse for pretty much free. I get free trades when you've got a portfolio my size. It doesn't cost me anything to get in out of stock. 2 seconds I can sell a share, my shares in Johnson & Johnson, or buy shares. Real estate, on the other hand, takes time. It'll take months to sell your home, and it's going to cost you $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. You're also, when you buy back in, going to have property transfer tax, which is a killer. It's extremely expensive to trade in and out of real estate. It shouldn't be looked at as some sort of short-term thing where you're trying to time a market to get the right price. That's not how real estate works. Real estate is a buy and hold asset. And I've always tell people, you always want to be in real estate. So many people I see, they're trying to time some right time, or I get so many horror stories of people that sold 2 or 3 years ago because they thought the market was peaked. They're going to sell, put their money on the sidelines, wait for the crash, and then buy back in. That never works. And it shouldn't be used with real estate. That's something you do if you're a stock trader, and even that I don't recommend. But this lady said, you know, Owen, you seem to leave a pretty stress-free life. It's just buy, hold, set it, and forget it. And she's right. I've got an amazing lifestyle. I've worked hard for it. If you read my book, and people that know me, you know, I've been at this over 30 years. I've made sacrifices, I've hustled, I've worked 15-hour days. And I still work 10, 12-hour days now because I enjoy it. It didn't come overnight for me. But once you get to a certain level where you've got 4 or 5 or 6 investment properties, tenants sending you rent checks every month, you've got a nice sized portfolio where you're getting dividend checks pretty much on a 2 or 3 day basis. I've got something coming in. On a weekly basis, I've got a dividend check coming in from one of my stocks. You can start living off those passive income flows, and that's when life becomes stress-free. That's why I call my book Along for the Ride. It's getting your money to work for you. And the best way to get your money to work for you, I follow the advice of people like Warren Buffett and Jack Bogle and Peter Lynch and all these incredible investors. Don't try and time the market. You're not smarter than these Wall Street guys. When the Wall Street guys are only right about 55 or 60% of the time, you're probably going to be wrong a lot more than they are. So why get into that trading game and that speculating game? Just buy good quality assets, good quality real estate. Don't buy anything. Done many blogs on that before. I'm going to do a blog later this summer on some of the crazy stuff that I see out on the MLS. I see it every week, some of the listings out there that are just hideously overpriced dogs. They're not going to sell, but they're trying. But don't buy anything. Buy a quality unit. Do your due diligence and just keep it. Buy the S&P 500, buy the Dow 30, buy the TSX NASDAQ, buy the broad index. It's going to cost you nothing to hold it, and just keep it. And then go about your life. Concentrate on getting better. You go to school, read more books, stay in shape, eat well, sleep, spend time with your family. But these people that are just obsessed with this short term, where the market's going to go, and these stats and that stats and this and that, it's a waste of time. I'm telling you, it's a waste of time. If you don't want to take my advice on it, please buy some books, educate yourself on this. They'll tell you the exact same thing I'm telling you. But life gets sweet when you've got your money working for you. And you're improving yourself. You're not wasting a bunch of time on what might happen next month or 6 months from now or next year. You've got a long-term need. If you're an investor and you're saving for retirement, you should be investing for 20, 30, 40 years. What the market does 6 weeks from now shouldn't bother you. Now, you know, I'm always invested, as I've told people. I don't sell properties. Eventually here, when we get a correction, I've been through so many corrections in Vancouver real estate, I've lost count. The one we're currently going through now isn't much of a correction, at least not yet. Prices are barely off, sales volume's down, but that's starting to show signs of recovery too. Am I tempted to sell any of my properties? No. Why would I? My tenants are paying me every month to be in them, and over time, I know they will continue to go up. There's always going to be blips on the setbacks on the ladder to the stratosphere. It's to be expected. Same thing with the stock market. Look at the volatility we've had the past year in the S&P 500. I mean, we had a huge sell-off in Christmas. I always keep a little bit of dry powder, and I've always got dividends rolling into my cash account from all my holdings. I was able to deploy and buy some stock in January and February at some very good prices. I use those little blips in the stock market to buy whatever I've got, but I'm pretty much 100% invested at all times. Luckily, I've got new capital coming in on a monthly basis from my dividend checks. And I usually deploy that pretty quick too. You always want to be in the market. Trying to time markets is just a waste of time. It really is. People need to realize that. The last thing I'll tell you guys, a lot of people, ask me, Owen, enjoy your blogs. You're different than a lot of these other bloggers. And I know I'm different than a lot of these other bloggers in a couple of different ways. A, I'm not a professional blogger. This video blog is not a way for me to make money. I do it as kind of a business card, an introduction to myself, but I also do it as a pay it forward thing that I've talked many times about. I enjoy helping people, showing them how I achieve financial security at a pretty young age and how you can do it too with a very simple buy and hold formula. Don't get fancy. I'm a simple guy and I keep everything very simple. The other thing I think that sets me apart from a lot of other people, is a lot of my people will comment here, is my attitude. And I tell people, attitude is everything in life. Some of my young viewers, I'm giving you the one piece of advice I always give to people. It's about your attitude. You've got to be positive. You've got to be can-do, optimistic towards life. If you're not, there's no middle ground. I find someone's either a doer or they're a don'ter. They're either an optimist, their attitude is positive, or they're a complainer. They're negative, they're pessimistic. And they tend to, the pessimistic ones, the negative ones, always want to blame their lack of success or their troubles on something else. It's the foreign buyers, it's the realtors, it's the banks, it's the government. It's the empty homes, it's the money laundering. There's always something new coming around the corner. It's never them. They never want to do the mirror test, as I've often said. So I tell people, if you talk to my wife, I'm not 100% positive, optimistic 24 hours a day. Of course, I'll complain about the odd little thing, just like a guy like Russell Wilson on the Seattle Seahawks and Pete Carroll. Some of the most positive guys I've ever seen. I'm sure they complain a little bit, but I can tell you what'll happen is, like me, it's in and out of their system within a minute or two. They actually have a mental dialogue going on that, hey, Owen, you're complaining a little bit here. Move on. Don't dwell on it. And I don't. You've got to be positive and optimistic in your life. If you're not, it's going to be tough for you. You got to get away from the complaining and pointing fingers. If you want anything in life, it's going to be up to you. 100%. And it's never too late to turn the corner. I hear people that complain about Vancouver Real Estate can't get in the market. Well, your friends and peers and colleagues are getting in the market. They did it. Ask them how they did it. 200 homes get sold every single day in the Vancouver Real Estate Board. Dozens and dozens of condos every day, 5 days a week. So somebody's buying. If you're not buying, it's not these external factors, because they're buying, it's you. But own up to it. Stop your complaining. Turn the page. Go back to school. Get a side hustle. Pay off those credit card debts. It can be done. Buy my book. It'll be the best $10 you spent. It'll be a good motivational start for you. But you got to stop pointing fingers and complaining. You've got to take control of it. The real estate market in Vancouver and the stock market and life in general isn't fair all the time. There's always going to be things that, aren't right. But you've got to look past those things. It's life. The winners are the ones that do that. They shove that stuff to the side and jump over it. That's how life works. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, if you haven't joined my YouTube channel, please do. I just crossed the 4,000 subscriber mark, so thank you very much. I'm also pushing 3,000 subscribers on my Twitter feed as well. Thank you very much to everyone who's subscribed. My book, as well. I'm getting lots more reviews on my book. I'm still selling, I don't know, 20, 30 copies a week on Amazon. Thanks to everyone who's bought my book. I'm glad you're enjoying it. You learned something. This is why I'm doing this blog. I'll see you next week.